Here I am speaking on this again. I just feel like there's so many souls that need to be saved and so many deceived people out here because of doctrines of men. And the saddest part about it is you can gain all this knowledge and philosophy concerning all the different things that are happening in the world, but it's still not necessarily going to change you or change anyone else. The change comes through the Spirit of God. And when you're so caught up in bitterness, resentment, unforgiveness, this kind of thing, you are, despite having all this knowledge, wisdom, philosophy of man, you are hindering yourself from changing. And so it kind of turns into this vicious cycle of like knowing all these things and then becoming haughty because you know all these things and not being able to change because pride keeps you from that. So that's how you end up having people like the young black man. I think he was one of the red pill guys that he was giving all this advice to men, and then everyone found out later that he was cheating on his wife. So it's sad. It kind of reminds me of the Pharisees in the Bible where they had all this knowledge of scripture and that kind of thing, but they didn't have the Spirit of God. But I said that because these comments keep popping up on my YouTube. There seems to be this toxic situationship, as people like to call it, between black men and black women in some parts of the world. It seems like sometimes I don't know what they're saying because I haven't spent a lot of time with black people or just people in general. I spend most of my time alone or with God, because the church is one thing, and then all the people of the world are another thing. I personally don't like to get involved in most of these things because they have the ability to lead someone away from God. And so what it seems like I'm picking up on is that it's a real thing for black men to be upset concerning the rejection of black women. From what I've heard, a lot of black men feel like black women don't think they're worth anything, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I guess I have heard black women say black men aren't ish, or it's few and far between. I personally want to know why they feel this way because I just don't see it as common as what they're saying it is. And for that reason, it almost feels like to me there's an excuse being used to kind of reject black women. So correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm serious about that, but I think part of the problem is applying, something that happened to you once to the whole of things. So when I was in high school and in middle school and in college, I was told by several black men that they didn't want to date me because I was black. And it wasn't even that I was interested in them. They just literally randomly told me that they didn't want to date me because they didn't date black girls. I was like, okay, well, thanks for letting me know, I guess. And there was one guy specifically in high school, a mixed black guy. He was an attractive dude, but I wasn't that into him. I think mainly because I'm like, oh, he's a football player and I'm just a random girl in school type deal. So the thought never really crossed my mind. And, his dating history was all white girls. And so he just randomly told me he didn't like black girls. He pointed at me and said, I don't like that. I don't like black girls. But this dude would always stare at me up and down the hallway. I'm like, okay. Thanks for letting me know. Funny thing is, I had a little bit of a crush on his brother, which most people probably know him. His name's Lance Moore. I don't know if he still plays for the Saints, but he played for the Saints at one point. And the reason why I had a crush wasn't because he was black, but because he was like a really, really nice guy. Like somebody was making fun of me, and he stood up for me, and he complimented my shoes one time. So I had a little bit of a thing for him. But yeah, that's well over for. That was like 20 years ago. But anyway, yeah, and then just random guys down the line. And so I was like, all right, well, I literally did nothing to warrant that, but you did it. And then I did not grow up with a father as well. And so should I just hate all black men because a few have done really terrible things? That's why God says he doesn't look on appearance but looks on the heart. I cannot judge every black man by what some other black man has done. And while they don't want to be judged for what other black men have done, they simultaneously place all black women in a box and talk about how much black women hate them. I'm like, I don't hate you at all. I'm pretty sure my husband's supposed to be black because I've seen him in dreams and that kind of thing. And so, to hate black men would be to hate my husband. How stupid would that be? But you're really not supposed to hate people in the first place. So, I think they're speaking out of a lack of perspective and just just hurt and pain, I think. Because I was hurt for a long time because these people were saying those kind of things. And it wasn't only black men, it was white men. And again, I did nothing to warrant it. I was literally just sitting and someone just felt like they needed to tell me that. It's probably the reason why I think all this hate is on black women, because it's like you can literally just be sitting there breathing and somebody would just just say something to you and about you, and it's like you literally did nothing. Um, Sometimes I feel like that when I go out, like I'll just be walking and people will look at me and someone will, sniff and put their nose in the air or whatever the deal is. But yeah, there was a guy that was upset because he had went to a fast food restaurant to order some food, and there was a black woman at the register, and she was acting funny. And these kind of things have happened to me not only by black women but by black men and white women, white men, whatever. It does not matter. Sometimes I would say all the time, it's a spiritual issue, okay? Because people have demons inside of themselves, and when they see someone who they think is below them or they're jealous or whatever the deal is, those demons will start to act out. And so I want people to keep that in mind, because this is really a spiritual war that we're fighting. It's not just like a black and white thing either. So sometimes I have to remind myself of that as well. Even today I was working at a job and there was a black guy in charge, and he was just acting real crazy, and then I could kind of see that there was some kind of demon on him, and so I just left it at that. Just because I'm like, we don't wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities and that kind of thing, evil in high places. So we have to stay aware of that. Our wars, or our weapons of war, are spiritual, not carnal, which is a good reminder in putting on your spiritual warfare garment as well. And try not to take offense to the things that people do, because the devil's going to try to keep you offended. I've been praying to God, not to be offended by what people do, because really we're supposed to be calm and cool enough to be able to approach things with a sound mind. And I have not been doing the best at that, but I've been praying that God will give me the patience to be that person again. So we're in the last days. Things are getting trying. And I think that's part of the reason why all this racial stuff is going on as well. People are just hurt and they're operating out of their demons. So, yeah, there was a video of some young black women that were trying to go to a restaurant. They were beautiful. They were dressed beautifully, classy. They would not let them in this restaurant. And then two white guys came up with a black girl. There were all these white people passing and going into the restaurant. They were dressed in jeans, basic stuff. No one stopped them. As soon as these two white guys and this black girl into the restaurant, they got stopped. And so sometimes you have to be like, okay, what's going on? And I want people to know that it's not just like because you're black. It's also because you might have that light on you, in which these people are like, I don't want that in my restaurant. Or God has his hand on you where he's like, I don't want these people in that restaurant because they're poisoning the food or whatever the deal is. So I want you to also be aware of that, because God just will not let you enter into certain things if you can be hurt by it. Like, this has happened to me several times where I was like mad at first that I couldn't participate, but then it was obvious why I couldn't participate afterwards, and that was because God was trying to protect me. So you guys be blessed. Try not to take offense to everything. And yeah, I mean, the way to heal this whole toxic cycle with black men and black women is just repent and turn to God, Black men and black women were married at a rate that was higher than anyone else in America at one point. And the Jim Crow laws purposely said they were going to ruin that. The same thing with Planned Parenthood. It was by a eugenicist called Margaret Sanger, I think it was, who was an obvious racist, said she wanted to reduce the black population, and that's why you see Planned Parenthoods inside of these urban neighborhoods. This is all by design, guys. It's not just because, we're black too. It's also because we descend from the Israelites. So you guys be blessed and have a good one. Bye.